G'day everybody and welcome to 2 Clicks Up. If you're a return viewer, welcome back to the channel. If you're a new viewer, welcome aboard, and I hope you enjoy the content and you continue to watch and you might even subscribe. That'll be good. What have we got in front of us today? We have got the HOWA 1500 chambered in 300 Winchester Magnum. We're not mucking about today. Okay, we've got a standard HOWA 1500. It sits in the pillar-bedded standard Hogue stock, 24-inch blued fat varmint barrel. This one is threaded. Now, I've removed the muzzle brake off this. I had the MDT muzzle brake on. Does make it a hell of a lot more pleasant to shoot because for anyone who's ever shot a 300 Win Mag, I suggest you do. It's a wake-up experience. It does give you a fair old boot with the muzzle brake on. Quite pleasant to shoot, but as in most things shooting, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Your trade-off is it's loud, as in loud, loud, loud. So, and good for target shooting, no good for hunting. So, going back to the experience of my 270, when I put a big fat heavy barrel on it, that settled it right down. I thought I'd see how this one goes, and it's shootable. It's shootable. You know you're shooting it, but it's shootable. But anyway, I digress. This one's fitted with a Timney trigger that I have set at a nice crisp 2.5 pound, and it's a very lovely trigger, just the way I like them. Up on top, I've got the Night Force 0 MOA Picatinny rail. I've got the Vortex Pro Series rings, and in the rings sits a Vortex 4-12 by 50 crossfire scope, adjustable objective. Very nice scope. Good, as with Vortex, good bang for the buck, and I like Vortex, and I got heaps of them. So there we go. All right, so I did a bit of load development. I got out to the range, and when I got there I had fog. I thought, this is going to be a nice day. Within about an hour and a half of starting, I had that much wind I could barely keep anything on the table. The weatherman got it absolutely wrong. That wind barely settled all day. It was absolutely terrible. It was cold, it was windy, it was, but I was there. It's the only day I had. Do what you got to do. And these big things, they throw house bricks, so you get away with a bit of wind, but I digress. As I always say, you play the cards you're dealt, and we had to on that day. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at our loading recipes first. Now, I did a lot of shooting this day. I did 3 different powders, 4 different projectiles. So it's a bit of shooting, so I'm going to cut it up into 2 parts, this one as well. Otherwise it just gets too long and boring. But I've talked enough. Let's get into it. Righto, let's have a bit of a look at our little loading recipe before we go any further. Brass, I'm using unfired Remington factory brass. And I'll give you a very, very short backstory of this. I bought many years ago, and I first bought my first 300 Win Mag that I eventually moved on because it was too light. I bought 12 boxes of Remington core-locked factory ammunition from a local southeast Queensland gun shop. I'm not going to say the name of it, but 3 guesses, first 2 don't count, blah, blah. I got them home, and I thought I'll just measure them up so I can measure the lengths and everything, and so I can get some some reference points, start loading, doing load development, etc., etc. Anyway, I noticed a lot of the brass in the 240 I bought, about 30 of them were cracked, anywhere from just down the neck. Some were cracked right down to the shoulder there, and with a good number of these things, I could just get the projectile and just pull it out with my fingers or wobble it around with my fingers. That's no bloody good. You know, you'd buy that, you'd shoot it, and it'd be all over the place, and oh, you'd be blaming everything. You'd blame yourself, the gun, the scope, everything in the world, except what it really was. Went back to the gun shop. They didn't want to know about it. Hey, there's a revelation. So I come home and I pulled all the ammo. I kept the primers, I kept the powder, I kept the projectile, I kept what brass I could. All the shit that was cracked and no good, I turfed that, and I annealed, resized, blah, 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 everything else. And it seems to have come up all right. If it cracks, I'll just chuck it away. I don't care. So there we have it. So we've got our CCI large Magnum rifle primers, number 250s. I know you can use normal large rifle primers with these things, but the books say Magnum rifle primers, and I could get some, so I'll use Magnum. So there we go. And the powders we've loaded, I'll go around this side. ADI 2213SC. Again, I use ADI powders simply because you can get them, and some of these other powders are ridiculously expensive. ADI 2209 a good powder for these, the bigger cartridges, and like the lowest down powder I would use for these 2213s. Okay, 09's all right. And also the Remington factory powder. It's the powder that I pulled out of all of those shitty Remington factory bullets. That's it. It's a I'll try and see if I can get that into focus a bit. Some light on it. There it is. It's a fairly dense, small stick powder. It's fairly dense. It's quite dark grey in colour. And you won't buy anything like that because I sort of chased it up, try and get data on anything, and they basically mix their powders for different batches of bullets. So, but that all came out of WinMag, so it'll do. And the claimed velocities on the boxes, and you can take them with a grain of salt. I worked out you'd need about 2 more grains of what your factory, what your recommendation of 2209 was. I did that. No pressure signs. She's a little bit punchy, that powder. I will say that she is a little bit punchy, but that's the way it is, and it's a 300 WinMag anyway. So whatever you put in, it's going to be punchy. All right, but we're good with that. With what we've loaded, we're nearly through that. So okay, we use the Spear 180 grain boat tail soft points, number 2052. They're quite a nice projectile. It's your standard hunting soft point type projectile, nice and slender, nice big boat tail on them. They're quite a good projectile. Again, Spear, for some stupid reason, a lot of people go past them. I can't see why. There's nothing wrong with them at all. We've got our quantity 180 grain SSTs, number 30702, if anyone's remotely interested. They come on, the 180s come on special every now and again. You'd be lucky now, nothing's on special anymore. That's them. Nice cannula in them, nice little red top, nice boat tail on them. Very good projectile. Shoot really well. Starting to get expensive. Like the price on that one was 83 and a bit, 84. I've had that for a while. They're starting to creep up into the 90s now, so that it's starting to get a bit dear. So there we go. Now I've got as usual, got all my information from my reference book, Nick Harvey's 11th edition practical reloading manual. I believe it was his last prior to his passing, and use that in conjunction with the ADI hand loaders guide. Most of this is online, so you can get it that. And 300 WinMag's not a new cartridge by any stretch of the imagination, so you'll be fine there. And just using normal powders, you'll be fine. So there we go. I'll just do a quick reloading disclaimer. If you want to reload ammunition, do so safely. Do so within recommended parameters, parameters recommended by manufacturers and experienced reloaders. When you are reloading ammunition, reload well inside those parameters and walk up the ladder slowly. If you see any pressure signs whatsoever, stop immediately. What I reload works for me and in my firearms, and may or may not necessarily work for you or in yours. The information I give you is only suggested, it's only general. I am by no means an expert. Do not take what I say as gospel. If you want to load these things up, full of powder and make absolute firecrackers out of them and blow your face off, good luck to you. That is on you and not me. Right, let's look at some results. Right, let's have a look at some results from for the load development for the HOWA 300 Winchester Magnum. It's a loaded 300 WinMag cartridge rather. That's a Horn of the SST. On top of that, very large powder capacity there. They hold a lot of powder. They got a lot of punch in these things. And it's said you've got to run a 24-inch barrel as a minimum, otherwise they're just not 30-06 at wasted powder. That's what they say. But anyway, be that as it may, belted Magnum. These are a 60s vintage cartridge. That's what they all came out with back then. Apparently it looked pretty cool. Either or, whatever. Okay, 3-inch targets at 100 yards as per normal. We're off with the Remington factory powder and the SSTs, the first projectile up, 180s. Okay, first cab off the rank, .920 for 4 shots. Don't ask me why it's 4. I couldn't tell you. There'd be a reason. I don't know it. Okay, you got The whole group is 0.92, 4 shots in 0.92 of an inch, which isn't bad. But you've got 2 on top of each other there and 2 on top of each other there. What it means, oh, God knows, but we've got somewhere to start. Up half a grain, 68.5. We've got a 3-shot group with 0.320 of an inch. That's 3 shots in that raggedy looking little hole there. The best group you're going to shoot with a powder I'll never get again. The irony isn't lost, trust me. 69, max, gone to nearly 2.5 inches. We don't worry too much about that. Right, move on. Moving on. We've got our 2209 powder with the 180 SST, 66 grains. A 4-shot group, that's just a dot under 1.5 inches, but that's 2 right there. So, yeah, it's frustrating when it does things like that. Okay, so 66.5 grains, up half a grain, 0.810 for a 3-shot group, but there's 2 right on top of each other there, so that's this isn't bad. And we go to our max 67. We've got 1.013. Whether that technically falls in MOA, I don't know. I don't know the yards to meters figures. I don't know. So one right bang on in the middle. Then you got these 2 sitting on top of each other. So now what I will say for these, when I started shooting this, I had a different scope on it. I had a Vortex Diamondback 3.5 to 10 by 50, and I found the eye relief wasn't quite what it needed to be, and I was getting a couple of little clouts in the face, and so that's not pretty. So I was making some sort of allowances for that. So whether that is showing up here, who knows? But you know, play the cards you dealt. Okay, we've got the 2213 SC powder with the 180 grain SSTs. SC stands for shortcut, whatever that means. Okay, the 4-shot group, 1.106, but you've got 3 there in 0.661. This little bloke out here just sort of buggers the group up a bit, but you get something out of that. 74.5, that's close enough to 1.8 inches. We don't worry about that. And we go up to 75, the max, 75 grains of powder. See, I said big powder capacities, 0.917. So we're in under MOA, just down there with 2 right on top of each other. As I always say, where it drops on the paper, I look to make sure they're not going all over the shop here, but they're all in the same spot. You wind that up and wind that across, and you know, that's easy. That's not the end of the world. That's not the end of the world. All right, that's the SSTs done. Let's have a look at the Remington factory powder. This time we're pushing the 180 grain Spear soft point boat tails. I do like these projectiles. They load up nicely, and they're quite a deal cheaper than the SSTs and Sierras and all that, and Noslers. And again, Spear projectiles, I don't know why people go past them, but they just do. Okay, 4-shot group, 3.032 inches. All and these 2 on top of each other out here. Don't know what any of that means, don't worry about it. We go up a bit further to 68.5 grains. Just a bit. 1, 2, 3. He's in 1.001, so that's close enough to MOA. That's fine, I can live with that. Now I buggered this one up a bit, shot at the wrong target. There's a rookie error. There's the 69 grains of the factory ammo there. I forgot to mention that. So, but that's a 3-inch target, so that's going to be a dot under 1.5 inches there. You 1.25 inches, something like that. But that are right on top of each other, so that's fine. That's fine, you can live with that. Okay, now we'll go to the 2209 powder. Here's your 66 grains of the 2209. I just use that little yellow dot as a target. Now we've got 1.46, but we've got 2 there and 2 there. 4-shot group, 2 there, 2 there. I have no idea what that means, why it does these things. I don't know. All right, so we go up to 66.5 grains of the 2209, up half a grain. We've gone 0.94 inches, so we're in under MOA there. 1 right in the guts. But you've got these 2 right on top of you that just are right on top of each other, just down here. So, yeah, it's saying there's signs there. Saying there's signs there. So I'm happy enough to work with this. Right, 67, 2 inches, all over the shop. Yeah, don't worry about that. Goodbye, good night. And lucky last up, this was the 2213SC, pushing the 180 grain spear boat tail soft points. And that's 1.473, that's a 4-shot group. Look, forget him, that's 3 in just under 3/4 of an inch. If that's your little flyer, yeah, and that sort of took it out a bit, unfortunately, which is quite a shame. But yeah, that's got signs here. I think you'd run with that. 74.5, another 4-shot group. Yeah, that was nearly 2 inches. Yeah, don't worry about that. That went around the world. And this one, 75, the max. Yeah, 1.8 and a bit. Yeah, same. Nothing really to talk about there. So that's our load development part 1 done and dusted. We'll put this one to bed. Rightio, part 1 of load development for the HOWA 300 Winchester Magnum done and dusted. Load development's always the fun bit. It's a little bit like a session in the cricket nets. It's something you've got to do, but you get something out of it eventually. We've learned a few things then. We confirmed a few things we knew. Found a bit to discard and all that sort of things, which is good, and that's how load development's supposed to work. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did like the video and enjoyed it, please give it a like. That'd be good. And if you like the channel, please give it a subscribe. That'd be really nice. Hit that bell icon like it owes you money, as I always say. So that's part 1 done. I invite you, please stay tuned for part 2. We'll have that coming up in a little while. And I'll sign this one off now. So as I always say, tell your wife, tell your girlfriend, tell them both. It don't matter to me, just go 2 clicks up. Ta-da.